and today I will be telling you how to solve an equation using the quadratic formula. Alright, here's my paper and now let's solve. So basically the first thing you need to do is to memorize the quadratic formula, which is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, this thing here, b squared minus 4ac, is called a discriminant, and we will use that for later. Remember that a standard quadratic equation would be ax squared plus bx plus c. For example, let's do 4x squared minus 16x equals 8. Now we're trying to solve what is x. That is the question. So let's pretend that A is purple, B is yellow, and C is green. Now we need to make it into proper standard form. So I'm going to take this 8 and move it here. So it'll become 4x squared minus 16x plus 8 equals 0. Now it's in a standard form. And now we're going to try to identify our A, B, and C. Well, looks like our A is 4, our B is negative 16, and our C is 8. Okay, so now we put in our quadratic equation, our formula. So that is going to be negative 16 plus or minus the square root of negative 16 squared minus 4 times 8, all of that over 2, 4. So if we try to solve that, that is 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 minus 4 times 4 times 8, which is 128 over 2 times 4, which is 8. I'm going to show you a cool fact about the discriminant. If it's equals 0, there will be one solution. If it's greater than 0, it will have two solutions. And if it's less than 0, it will have no solutions. That's the cool thing about the discriminant. So, since this equals 128, we could say it has two solutions. And since it's the square root of 128, we could now divide it. Now there's two ways to do this. First, the radical way. So since this is a square, you have to divide this squares. So we have to divide 128 by 64, which is 8 squared. That will become 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. So the answers in radical form are 2 plus the square root of 2 and 2 minus the square root of 2. Now let's do it in decimal form. So we have to make the square root of 128 into a decimal number. So that becomes about 11.31. So then we can say 16 plus or minus 11.31 over 8. And then that becomes 2 plus or minus 1.41. And now I worked so much that I need another paper. Well, it's 2 plus or minus 1.41. So we're going to split that into 2 plus 1.41 and 2 minus 1.41. That becomes 3.41, and this becomes 0.59. So your answers 2 is 3.41 and 0.59. We're not done yet. We need to make sure this is right. There is a website here called Desmos, and it solves quadratic equations by graphing, which is another method, but we're using this for double checking. Our original equation in standard form was 4x squared minus 16x plus 8. And we got the answers 3.41 and 0.59. And let's see the answers. Without a doubt, we got the answers. And that is how you solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Goodbye, everyone.